in the quiet suburbs of Boise, Idaho, where the streets are lined with cedar trees and the air carries the crisp scent of approaching fall. A storm was brewing in the life of Lauren Mitchell. At 35, Lauren had carved out a life of deliberate calm, a small, modern house with clean lines and soft gray walls, paid for by years of grit as a project manager for a high-end interior design firm. Her days were a blend of client meetings, mood boards, and late-night emails, but she thrived in the structure. Trust didn't come easily to Lauren. She'd learned early that people could disappoint, but family was the one anchor she'd never let slip. Until now. It was 2:17 a.m. when her phone buzzed, the screen lighting up the dark bedroom. The name, Sophie, flashed, her younger sister, 29, who she hadn't spoken to in months. Lauren's heart skipped. Sophie wasn't the type to call, especially not at this hour. When she answered, Sophie's voice was a fragile thread, trembling as if she'd been crying for hours. Lauren, I don't know where to go, she whispered. My company shut down. I got laid off. And I just found out I have West Nile virus. I'm scared. The words hit like a punch. Sophie, always the reckless one, sounded broken. Their parents, retired and living in a condo in Arizona, were too frail to step in. Sophie's friends, if she had any left, were scattered or too caught up in their own chaos to help. Lauren didn't hesitate. Pack a bag. You're coming to my place. By noon the next day, Sophie was at her doorstep, a shadow of the vibrant sister Lauren remembered. Her skin was sallow, her eyes sunken, her steps so unsteady Lauren had to steady her. The guest room was ready, fresh sheets, a diffuser humming with lavender. Lauren threw herself into caretaker mode, cooking hearty soups, picking up prescriptions, driving Sophie to doctor's appointments. She even rearranged her work schedule, taking client calls from her home office to keep an eye on her sister. It wasn't easy. Her inbox piled up. Her sleep dwindled, but Lauren didn't complain. This was what family did. Thank you, Sophie murmured one night, her voice raw as Lauren set a tray of food by her bed. I know you're busy. I don't deserve this. Lauren just smiled, hiding her exhaustion. You don't need to thank me. We're sisters. For 2 months, Lauren poured her heart into Sophie's recovery. Slowly, color returned to Sophie's cheeks. She started walking around the house, cooking simple meals, even laughing at old sitcoms on TV. Lauren dared to hope things were turning around. But there were moments, fleeting, uneasy ones, that pricked at her instincts. The way Sophie's eyes lingered on the sleek furniture, the marble countertops, the framed art Lauren had collected over years. This place must have cost a fortune. Huh? Sophie asked one morning over coffee, her tone too casual. Lauren brushed it off with a laugh. It's not cheap, but I've worked hard for it. Still got a mortgage to pay. She didn't catch the glint in Sophie's eyes, a mix of envy and calculation, because she was too busy being the good sister. Then came the Friday that shattered everything. Lauren came home from a long day, her blazer still on, her mind on a glass of Pinot Noir and a quiet evening. But the living room was a stage set for a nightmare. Sophie sat on the couch, her makeup subtle but deliberate, her hair swept into a neat bun, wearing a sundress Lauren had lent her weeks ago. Next to her was Ryan, Lauren's husband of 7 years, his face pale as death, his hands clasped so tightly his knuckles were white. The air was thick, electric, with something Lauren couldn't name but felt in her bones. What's going on? She asked, her voice steady despite the dread clawing at her chest. Sophie glanced at Ryan, then fixed her eyes on Lauren with a rehearsed vulnerability. You might want to sit down, she said softly. Lauren didn't move. Just say it. Sophie took a breath, her voice trembling just enough to seem genuine. I'm pregnant. The word hung in the air, heavy as lead. Lauren blinked, her mind racing to make sense of it. Pregnant? With whose baby? Sophie's gaze slid to Ryan, and Lauren followed it. Ryan wouldn't meet her eyes, he just stared at the floor, his jaw tight. It's his, Sophie said. The world tilted. Lauren's heart stopped, then pounded so hard she thought it might break her ribs. Pregnant, with Ryan's child, in her house, the house she'd paid for, the life she'd built. She'd fed Sophie, nursed her, trusted Ryan implicitly, and now they'd betrayed her together under her roof. Sophie pressed on, her voice gaining a strange confidence. I know you're angry, and I get it, but what's done is done. I'm carrying this child, and I can't stay here feeling like a villain. I think you should move out. So Ryan and I can start our family. Lauren laughed, a sharp, hollow sound that echoed in the silent room. Not because it was funny, but because the audacity was so staggering it defied reason. Let me get this straight, she said, her voice low and dangerous. You want me to leave my own house so you and my husband can play happy family? Sophie faltered, her script unraveling. I just thought you'd understand. We're family, Lauren. This baby, it's your niece or nephew. Lauren's eyes narrowed, her voice cutting like ice. Don't you dare call me family. That baby is the result of betrayal. Conceived while you lived off my food, my money, my trust. She turned to Ryan, who still hadn't spoken. And you? Nothing to say? He finally looked up, his eyes hollow. I didn't know she'd tell you like this. It only happened a few times. I thought we could keep it quiet. Lauren's laugh was drier now. Almost a scoff. Quiet? You thought you could live a double life in my house and I'd never notice? She didn't cry. She didn't scream. Something inside her had already hardened, turning her pain into resolve. Lauren walked upstairs, her steps deliberate, and pulled a small safe from her closet. Inside were the deed to the house, her bank cards, every document proving this life was hers. She came back down and laid them on the coffee table like a gauntlet. I'm not going anywhere, she said, staring Sophie down. This house is mine. Every square foot, every light bulb, paid for by me. If anyone's uncomfortable, there's the door. Sophie's face drained of color, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. But I'm pregnant, she stammered, clutching her stomach for effect. Lauren didn't flinch. Don't hide behind that baby to justify your greed. If you had the guts to sleep with my husband, you can find your own place. Ryan stayed silent, his head bowed, defeated. Lauren crossed her arms. You both have 1 hour to pack and get out. Or I call the police. Exactly 57 minutes later, they were gone. Sophie's sobs echoed as she dragged her suitcase to Ryan's car. But Lauren didn't watch. Ryan muttered something about being sorry, but it was too late for words. When the door closed, the house fell into a stillness so profound it felt like the walls were holding their breath. Lauren leaned against the door, her breath shallow, her heart a burned-out husk. She'd lost her sister, her husband, her trust, but she hadn't lost herself. The fallout came swiftly. Her mother, Diane, called the next morning, her voice sharp with accusation. Lauren, how could you kick Sophie out? She's pregnant. For God's sake, you think this makes you strong? It makes you heartless. Lauren gripped the phone, her knuckles white. Mom, she slept with Ryan, in my house, while I was taking care of her. And you're calling me heartless? Diane's tone didn't soften. She made a mistake. Lauren, family doesn't abandon each other over mistakes. You should have been the bigger person. Lauren's voice was calm but unyielding. I was the bigger person. I fed her, paid for her meds, drove her to doctors. Her way of thanking me was betraying me in the worst way possible. I'm done sacrificing for people who don't deserve it. Diane scoffed. You're too harsh. That baby's your blood. You can't turn your back on that. The criticism didn't stop with her mother. Aunts, cousins, even a college friend named Tara texted, all echoing the same refrain. Lauren was too cold, too unforgiving, too selfish to abandon her pregnant sister. But none of them offered to take Sophie in. None of them asked about the nights Lauren spent awake, worrying about Sophie's fever, or the days she juggled work and caregiving. They saw a villain in Lauren because it was easier than facing the truth. Sophie had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Then came the final blow. A week later, Diane showed up at Lauren's office unannounced, her face drawn with fury. She slid an envelope across the conference table, ultrasound results. She claimed, proving Sophie had miscarried. This is on you, Diane hissed. You stressed her out, kicked her to the curb when she needed you most. Is this who you are now? Lauren? A sister who destroys her own family. The words stung, But Lauren held her ground. Her voice steady. I'm sorry if Sophie lost the baby. But I didn't cause this. She made her choices, sleeping with my husband, trying to take my home. I'm not responsible for her consequences. Diane's eyes blazed. A pregnant woman, homeless, alone. How could that not affect her? You're so cold you can't even see it. Lauren leaned forward, her voice quiet but firm. If everyone's so worried about Sophie, why hasn't anyone taken her in? You, Aunt Linda, any of them? You're all quick to judge. But when it's time to help, I'm the only one who stepped up. Don't guilt me into carrying her mistakes. Diane stood, trembling with rage. You've changed, Lauren. You've got no heart left. She stormed out, leaving the ultrasound paper behind. Lauren stared at it, not touching it, feeling a chill settle in her chest. Not guilt, but clarity. Her family had chosen sides. And it wasn't hers. She wasn't the villain they painted her to be. She was the one who'd trusted too much. Given too much. And now had to protect what was left. Alone in her office, Lauren made a decision. She wouldn't beg for understanding or explain herself to people who'd already judged her. She'd set boundaries, even if it meant standing alone. The sister who'd once opened her home was gone, replaced by a woman who knew her worth. The road ahead would be hard, more calls, more accusations, maybe years of estrangement, but Lauren was ready. She'd rebuild, brick by brick, starting with herself. In the quiet of a Boise autumn, where the leaves turned amber and the air carried a bite, Lauren Mitchell stood at a crossroads. Her small, modern house, once a sanctuary, then a battlefield, was now a silent witness to the wreckage of her trust. At 35, Lauren had faced the unthinkable, her sister Sophie's betrayal with her husband Ryan, followed by a family that turned against her. But the story didn't end with their departure. A deeper truth was about to unravel, one that would test Lauren's resolve and set her on a path to reclaim her life. 3 weeks after Sophie and Ryan were forced out, Lauren was trying to stitch her days back together. Her work at the interior design firm demanded focus. Clients wanted sleek kitchens, cozy dens, and no trace of her personal chaos. But late at night, when the house was too still, the betrayal replayed like a bad movie. She'd wake up gripping her pillow, her jaw clenched, wondering how she'd missed the signs. Then, one gray Tuesday morning, her phone pinged with a text from Ryan. Just one line. I need to tell you something. It's important. Lauren stared at the screen, her thumb hovering over the delete button. She felt nothing for him, no love, no hate, just a hollow indifference, but curiosity, or maybe a need for closure. One out. She typed back. Say it. Her phone rang seconds later. Ryan's voice was low, drained, like he hadn't slept in days. I'm not calling to apologize or make excuses, he said quickly. I just need you to know the truth. Sophie was never pregnant. Lauren's breath caught. She sat up, her coffee mug forgotten on the counter. What did you say? Ryan exhaled, the sound heavy with shame. I suspected it early on. She told me she was pregnant. But she wouldn't let me go to the doctor with her. I offered to drive her to ultrasounds. Gave her the name of a clinic. She always had an excuse, said she was too tired. Or the doctor told her to rest. I pushed. But she'd just cry or change the subject. Lauren's mind raced, pieces of the puzzle snapping into place. The ultrasound paper her mother, Diane, had shoved across the table at her office, supposedly proof of Sophie's miscarriage, had come from Diane. Not Sophie. She said she lost the original. Ryan continued, when she claimed she miscarried. There were no records, no doctor's notes, nothing. I asked her point blank. And she just sobbed. No answers. I think she made it all up. Lauren's grip on the phone tightened. So the miscarriage was fake too? Ryan hesitated. I can't say for sure. But there was never proof of a baby. Not once. The revelation hit like a slow-burning fire. Sophie hadn't just betrayed Lauren with Ryan. She'd woven a lie so cruel it manipulated everyone, Lauren, Ryan, their family, into pitying her. The pregnancy was a weapon, crafted to guilt Lauren out of her own home. To paint Sophie as a victim and Lauren as the villain. Lauren's voice was low, steady. Why tell me now? Ryan sighed. I heard your family's blaming you for the miscarriage, saying you caused it by kicking her out. I couldn't let you carry that. It's too late to fix what I did. But you deserve the truth. Lauren didn't respond immediately. Her mind churned with questions. When had Sophie concocted this lie? Was it to trap Ryan? To push Lauren out? Or just to buy sympathy? The motive didn't matter as much as the clarity it brought. Her sister had played her. And their family had bought the act. Thanks for being honest, Lauren said finally. Her tone clipped but sincere. Ryan tried to say more. I know I don't deserve this. But I hope you find peace. Lauren, don't let what we did ruin your life. She hung up without a word. The silence in her kitchen louder than any response. That afternoon, Lauren printed Ryan's texts and wrote down every detail of their call. Not to share, but to keep as a reminder that she wasn't crazy. Wasn't cruel. Wasn't the monster her family painted her to be. She sat at her dining table. The documents spread out like evidence in a trial. And made a call she'd been dreading. Her mother answered on the second ring. Her voice cold. What's this about, Lauren? I need you to hear something. Lauren said. Her tone even. Sophie was never pregnant. Ryan confirmed it. She dodged every doctor's visit. Every ultrasound. There were no records. No proof. She faked it. To manipulate us. To stay in my house. To make people take her side. Silence stretched on the other end. Broken only by Diane's sharp intake of breath. Do you have proof? Her mother asked. Her voice smaller now. Lauren's laugh was bitter. I don't need proof, Mom. I'm done proving myself to anyone. I'm telling you because you deserve to know. Whether you believe it is your choice. But if you keep blaming me for a pregnancy that never existed. We're done here. Diane didn't speak for a long moment. When she did, her voice trembled. Lauren, I didn't know. I swear I didn't. Lauren's eyes stung, but she kept her voice steady. I know you didn't. That's why I don't hate you. But I'll never forget how you all turned on me for a lie. She hung up, her hand shaking as she set the phone down. For the first time, a weight lifted, not anger, not pain, but the need to justify herself. She was free. The next morning, Lauren drove to her lawyer's office with a folder of documents. The divorce from Ryan, already in motion, was finalized faster than she'd expected. Ryan didn't contest a thing. Everything, from the house to the savings, was in Lauren's name, secured before their marriage. She signed the final papers at 10:43 a.m., the pen gliding smoothly across the page. When the lawyer called later to confirm the court had processed everything, Lauren felt a strange calm. Not joy, but a clean break, like stepping out of a burning building into fresh air. Back home, Lauren took decisive steps to sever ties with the past. She opened her phone and blocked Diane, her father Tom, and Sophie. Every missed call, every accusatory text, every plea for forgiveness, she erased them all. It wasn't about hatred, it was about survival. Forgiveness didn't mean letting people back in who'd shattered her trust. She stood in her living room, the space once filled with Sophie's belongings and Ryan's half-finished manuscripts, and decided to make it hers again. The transformation began small but deliberate. Lauren swapped the heavy drapes for airy linen curtains, letting sunlight flood the space. She painted the living room a soft sage green, the color of new beginnings. The couch where Sophie and Ryan had sat during their betrayal was donated, replaced by a sleek sectional that felt like her own. She ordered a trio of fiddle leaf figs, their glossy leaves a promise of growth. Every change was a reclamation, a way to erase the ghosts of the past. The wedding photo above the mantel came down, replaced by a blank canvas, a reminder that her future was unwritten. Lauren's evenings became her own again. She'd brew chamomile tea, curl up with a novel, or play jazz records she hadn't touched in years. The notes of Miles Davis filled the house, soothing the raw edges of her heart. She started journaling, not to dwell on the pain but to map out who she wanted to be. One night, she wrote, I'm not the sister who saves everyone anymore. I'm the woman who saves herself. The words felt like a vow. Her healing wasn't just internal. At a local artisan market, Lauren ran into Claire, a college friend she hadn't seen in years. Claire's hug was warm, her eyes kind but searching. You okay? She asked, touching Lauren's arm. Lauren smiled. A real smile, not the mask she'd worn for months. I'm getting there, slowly, over coffee at a cozy cafe. They talked for hours, not about Sophie or Ryan, but about dreams Lauren had buried. Claire mentioned a trip she'd taken to Charleston, South Carolina, describing the cobblestone streets, the salty air, the history woven into every corner. Lauren's heart stirred. She'd planned a trip there years ago. A solo adventure she'd cancelled because Ryan hated the heat. Now, no one could stop her. That night, Lauren opened her laptop and dug through old emails until she found the cancelled itinerary. Charleston, with its pastel houses and whispering oaks, called to her. She booked a flight for the following Friday. One way for now, and a charming Airbnb near the Battery. When the confirmation email pinged, Lauren felt a rush, like she'd just cut an invisible chain. She wasn't running away, she was running toward herself. The scars were still there, tender and raw. Lauren knew healing wasn't a straight line. There'd be nights when the betrayal stung anew. Days when her mother's voice echoed in her head, calling her heartless. But she also knew she'd broken free from a cycle of blind sacrifice. Sophie's whereabouts, her stories, her tears, none of it mattered anymore. Lauren didn't care what version of the truth Sophie spun to gain sympathy. She didn't owe her parents explanations. Didn't need their approval to live her truth. Her family was free to believe what they wanted. But Lauren was free to choose herself. In the quiet of her reclaimed home, Lauren stood on her balcony one evening, a glass of red wine in hand. The Boise skyline glittered faintly, the stars sharp against the velvet sky. A breeze rustled the cedars, carrying the promise of a new season. She wasn't the woman who'd trusted blindly, who'd given until it broke her. She was stronger now, steadier, a woman who knew her worth. The road ahead would be hers to walk, alone, but whole. What do you think of Lauren's decision? Was she too harsh in cutting off her sister and family? Or was it the only way to protect herself and reclaim her life? Her story challenges us to reflect on our own boundaries and the cost of loyalty. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if Lauren's journey resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories of resilience, betrayal, and redemption. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. And join our community as we explore the complexities of family, trust, and self-discovery.